Greetings from ASPE. Thank you for taking the time to review this brief video with me about the upcoming CPD examination. My name is Pam Rosenberg, and I'm the Director of Education and Certification for ASPE. To give you a rundown of what to expect during this chat, what we will cover: exam deadlines, eligibility, what to expect, reference materials, study options, and I'm going to walk you through exam registration. So as you are probably well aware of, the 2020 CPD exam has been postponed a few weeks. So the registration closes on June 4th instead of March 30th as previously advertised. And the updated exam dates are June 15th through the 21st, 2020. This is subject to change depending on the global climate, as you can imagine, but I'm hoping by June the test centers will be up and running. But again, we appreciate your understanding and being flexible with us as we work through the situation. Let's discuss exam eligibility. Members of ASPE that are in the full member category are automatically eligible to sit for the exam and do not have to go through the eligibility process. If you are an associate, affiliate, governmental, student, or in the special member category, you must go through eligibility. If you're not sure what your membership category is, look on your membership card or speak to your local chapter officer. I'm also available to you. If you do not fit in the full member category, the exam eligibility form is found on aspe.org/CPD exam. You'll hear me reference that link many times, but that is your main source of where to get started for the exam registration process. So we do often get those questions if a person is eligible, and the basics of eligibility are that a person must have 8 years of relevant experience, whether you are a member or not. And non-members, since we have no information about you, you must obviously have the 8 years equivalent experience in design, engineering, and or installation. Now let's discuss how you become eligible. Let's walk through a few scenarios. So if you're not a full member and fall into the other membership categories, or you're a non-member, again, here's the basics. You must have a 4-year degree in a related field, or if you have a 4-year degree in a related field, that counts towards 4 years of experience. If you have a 2-year degree in a related field, this counts towards 2 years of the 8 years minimum required for eligibility. To make up for the other 2 to 8 years, you are able to use work experience to do so. You may substitute professional work experience in a related field. 1 year of work experience in the industry counts towards 1 year of eligibility. If you are claiming only work experience, so if you do not have an associate's or a bachelor degree in a related field, your work experience must be a minimum of 8 years in a related field, which will qualify you to sit for the exam. If you're a current professional engineer, a registered architect, or a registered landscape architect, you can count that towards 2 years of experience. And if you are a current CPDT, you may count that towards 1 year of experience towards your eligibility. Here's a little bit more about the program and the exam itself. The CPD exam is an international certification program for engineers and designers of plumbing systems. We currently have over 1,000 active CPDs. The exam is a 3.5-hour, 100-question multiple choice exam. It is an open book exam, and you'll be able to take the exam at a testing center available to you around the world. The testing centers are only Pearson professional centers only, as Pearson does administer our exam. And the current and potential future exam dates are always posted online. Here's a little bit about what to expect about the contents and the domains on the exam. There are 5 exam domains. Gathering information is one domain, and administration is the second domain. Those 2 domains make up a total of approximately 11 questions. Design, which is the bulk of the exam, makes up approximately 65 questions. Specifications is about 13 questions, and construction services is about 11 questions. So what to expect on the exam day. When you get to the Pearson Professional Center, you must bring the exam confirmation email with you, along with 2 forms of identification. Proper identification for your primary ID is a driver's license, a state-issued photo ID, or a passport. And the secondary is a credit card with your name on it that matches what's on the identification for your primary ID. You can bring in a non-programmable, battery-powered calculator. There is not a list of approved or banned calculators. It is up to the candidate to determine that. Again, non-programmable, battery-operated calculator. You will be provided with a small whiteboard and a marker where you'll be able to write out questions, and it's a dry erase board basically. You will be required to leave all personal belongings in the locker provided to you, but I recommend you leave them at home. You can also bring in the reference materials, also known as it is an open book exam. A couple other things to just help you out a little bit. All formulas or tables that will be required to answer the question will be provided within the question in the exam. I recommend you brush up on these 4 tips here that are shown on your screen. And I'd also recommend you review the definitions from Volume 1, Chapter 1 of Plumbing Engineering Design Handbook. There are practice tests, and I'll go over that in a bit on education.aspe.org/CPD practice test. Now let's discuss the open book policy. Previously, you were only permitted to bring in 6 professionally bound reference materials, so a professionally bound book that you'd buy from a bookstore, for example. They could not be materials that a candidate's printed themselves. This has since changed. The exam candidates can bring in as many printed or professionally bound reference materials of their choosing. The materials do not have to be professionally bound, and Pearson centers do not have a list of approved or banned publications. It is up to the individual to bring in what they feel is appropriate. They must remain bound during the examination, so you're unable to take sheets in or out of your binder, for example. Loose paper, such as printed and downloaded publications that you buy from the bookstore, for example, they may be bound with ring binders, brads, plastic snap binders, spiral bounding, or screw posts. Please keep this in mind. I haven't highlighted here in red. Staples, sticky notes, and flags are not permitted. If you want to easily reference something, maybe dog ear something, but they're not permitted. I do have an FAQ page, which is on that link on your screen, but it's also available on that main CPD exam page. Often we get asked, what recommended publications do you recommend that we bring in? I have a list here shown on your screen, and all of this is on the CPD exam page, but the CPD review manual, Plumbing Engineering Design Handbooks, volumes 1 through 4, Practical Plumbing Engineering, Domestic Water Heating Design Guide, Engineered Plumbing Design 2, and Plumbing Technology. And again, the full list is on aspe.org/CPD exam. I have a couple tips for test taking when you get there. I recommend that you do not bring in any more than 6 reference materials. And the reason is it's a lot to browse and review the material in such a short period of time. This will limit your time that you have to answer all the questions. So here, simple math, you have 100 questions to complete in 3.5 hours. That's 210 minutes. That gives you just over 2 minutes per question. And if you're spending 90 seconds looking for something within one of the reference materials you bring in, that leaves you almost no time to answer the question. I also recommend that you answer every question. You are not penalized for incorrect answers, so it is in your best interest to answer every question of the 100 questions, even if you are unsure. Go through the exam, get the easy ones out of the way, then you will be able to go back and review the ones that you did not answer. You can go back and review every single question, but it will mark which ones you did not answer. Here's a few study options for you. As I mentioned, we have 2 CPD practice tests online on ASPE Education. And then we have a 4-part CPD review webinar series. You can buy the set, all 4 of them, or you can buy them individually depending on what you need practice on. I want to remind you, these options do not guarantee you to pass the examination. It is a supplement to your studies. I'd like to briefly go over exam registration. So the fees are shown here on your screen. It depends if you're a member or a non-member, and if you're taking the exam in the United States or Canada. There are no rescheduling fees if completed prior to 72 hours from when the exam is supposed to start. And I need to stress, if you are a member and you receive the coupon code from me in the exam, once I confirmed that I received your information, you must enter that coupon code during checkout. The Pearson network does not differentiate between members and non-members, so you must enter that coupon code during checkout. And I'll walk you through this briefly, but you have to enter this in order for it to reduce the price. So let's briefly walk through the steps, and I will go over this with some screenshots. I'm going to go over it briefly, and then I'll go a little bit more in depth. So once you're approved to register, or you're a full member, so if you've gone through eligibility, or if you're confirmed that you are a full member, you visit aspe.org/CPD exam interest. This is an interest form that notifies me, Pam, that you wish to sit for the CPD exam. You are not going to be submitting payment there. Once you receive that email from me, you will then await an email from Pearson VUE. You will receive an authorization to test email. And again, I'm going to go over this here in a second. Once you receive that authorization to test email, you'll then go onto the Pearson site and create an account. You will select the Pearson Professional Center of your choosing, the date, the time, and you will submit payment. Let's go over that briefly. And I just wanted to give everybody a heads up, and hopefully this changes soon. At this time, registration and exam site selection is on hold until Pearson establishes their next steps. They're in flux right now as far as when they're going to be able to open up exam deliveries again. Right now, up until the middle of April, there are no exam deliveries at any Pearson Professional Center. So, but hopefully this will get lifted and candidates will be able to successfully register and pay for the exam. So if you're watching this now, I hope this gets lifted very soon. I do appreciate and I understand what you're all going through. I'm going through it right there with you. So again, thank you for your understanding. So as I mentioned, the exam is administered at a Pearson Professional Center only. There are over 350 of them around the world. A link to find one near you is on ASPE.org/CPD exam. There may be a Pearson third-party testing site that is not far from you, but unless it is a Pearson Professional Center, that is not where the exam will be held. So please keep this in mind. I have this link about what to expect about the centers, this informational video. I have this link and I will share it with you. This is what the video looks like. I'm not going to be playing this now. So this is what a sample of the authorization to test email that you will receive from Pearson. It has your name, the exam, obviously certified in plumbing design, and it has your candidate ID there. So save this information when you get ready to go to the Pearson VUE website. At the bottom of that email, you will create an account. If you have previously taken an exam through ASPE at one of the Pearson sites, you can just log in again with your previously created credentials, but the majority of this applies to most of our candidates. You will have to create an account. This is not the account that you have on ASPE.org, so keep this in mind. It can be the same email address, but it must be the email address that Pearson has on file for you, obviously. So you create an account, put in the first name, last name, and the candidate ID. This is what you will see when you get to the Pearson site. You will pull this information from the Pearson VUE email, so you'll reference that candidate ID. Once you log in and create that account, you will see that you've been pre-approved to take the Certified in Plumbing Design exam. You'll click on that. You'll see that there in blue. You see the price here. This price is the non-member price. It's what it's defaulted to. You will not see the member pricing until you get to the checkout part of the registration process. So keep that in mind. The next page, it defaults to the address that you provided to us during the exam registration process, but you can take the exam anywhere you'd like. So say you live in Illinois, but in June you believe you're going to be in California. You can put in any zip code, any country, and then you can take the exam as long as there is availability at a Pearson Professional Center. So select any of the centers you see here on your screen, up to 3 at a time. On the next page, it will automatically advance you to June. And if a date is available, it will appear for you in blue. If not, you will not be able to select that day. So for example, I selected April 4th. Obviously this is in the past and this is in April. So for example, I clicked on April 4th. I see here that there are 4 time slots for me to start. One thing that I want to remind you of is ASPE is not the only organization administering exams at a Pearson Professional Center. We are competing with other candidates for other exams. So just because you see that there is a Pearson Professional Center near you doesn't mean that they have availability. Our exam takes 3.5 hours to administer. It's actually a little bit longer than that. Some other exams that other organizations are administering may be an hour, so they can have more seats during the day at that center. Whereas the ASPE, we may only be able to have 1 or 2 seats. We do not contract with a Pearson Professional Center to administer just the CPD exam. So keep that in mind. You will see limited availability. Just because the exam dates say June 5th to the 21st doesn't mean you're going to see availability on every single one of those days. How do we avoid having an issue? As soon as you get the go-ahead from me, or then once you receive the authorization to test email, go ahead and sign up immediately. You may have to check back every other day if something isn't working for you, but I strongly encourage you, as soon as you get that authorization to test email, sign up quickly. Do not wait until closer to the registration cutoff date, because chances are you will not have availability that you had hoped to see. We can talk more about that offline, but just keep this in mind as you're going through the registration process. So the next screen, you will see the chosen location, the date, and the time. And again, you will see the non-member pricing. We will get to that during the checkout process. This is just like you're checking out and you're shopping online. It will confirm your information that you provided to us. You will have to agree to the policies to proceed. This is where you enter the payment information, and you see here it says add voucher or promo code. This is where you will enter that coupon code that I sent you to reduce the price if you are a current ASPE member. Enter that coupon code. So you see here, for example, it shows $675 US. I entered the code, it reduced it by $225. You'll then submit the credit card payment below as if you were checking out. A couple of reminders that we went over briefly at the beginning of this chat. The dates are always listed on aspe.org/CPD exam. And as of this conversation today, the 2020 exam dates are June 15th through the 21st, and registration closes June 4th. And again, this is subject to change due to the coronavirus going around right now. But again, I hope that this will stick, but we just have to be flexible and understanding that it may get postponed even further. But again, I hope this is not the case. At this time, I'd like to open up the floor for questions. So please feel free to type them into the Q&A box. The presentation will be provided on ASPE Education where you registered for this webinar, so I will share this information with you. And of course, this video will be available to you, again, to watch at any time. This is not coming down. Again, it's not a guarantee if you sat through this informational chat that you will pass the exam, but this is, I hope, hopefully we provided you with some good tips. And, with the delay in the exam being held, this gives us extra time to study and get prepared and take more of those practice tests and so on. So again, please feel free to type in any questions. I'd love to get those answered for you. If not, I will continue to communicate with the candidates. And yeah, so a couple of questions that come in. When will you hear about the exam results? Results are shared approximately 6 to 8 weeks after the exam. The results will be shared by mail only. You will not receive results over the phone or by email. They will be sent to the candidate only. Another question that came in, that's a great question. What is the typical percentage of people who pass the exam? There is not a typical pass percentage. It depends on how the exam tested, how the candidates perform. So there is not a typical pass percentage. There is not a passing score either. So if you get 70 points, that's not a guaranteed to pass. It depends on the difficulty of the exam and again, how the candidates performed. Someone asked, why can't we take the CPD exam online? That is because it is not, we don't have a remote proctoring arrangement set up right now. So without having a proctor in place and having the other security measures in place, you are unable to take that online, but that is a good question. We are exploring remote proctoring, but at this time, we do not have that capability. Do I know when registration will open again? You know just as much as I do. I hope within a week or so that candidates will be able to go ahead and schedule their exams. And I do apologize that this is taking so long, but everybody's in a very similar situation to us. I'm reading the questions that come in. So on the practice test, this person noticed that you cannot proceed to close the exam until an answer is entered. Will that apply to the CPD exam? No, this is different software. This is an entirely different thing. So you will be able to proceed during the CPD exam. You can skip a question, but on the practice test only, you can't advance until you answer that specific question. So thank you for asking that. Regarding identification, can we use a driver's license and a passport, or does it have to be a driver's license and a credit card? If you have two forms of photo identification that have your exact name as Pearson has it, that's totally acceptable. Thank you for asking that. So again, someone asked, what is the pass percentage? What is the score that you have to get out of 100 to pass? Again, I don't have that answer because every exam delivery is different. It depends on the difficulty of the exam and how the candidate scored and what the item writers or the people that wrote these questions think is difficult may not actually be difficult during delivery. So there is a lot of psychometric things that are evaluated at the conclusion of the exam delivery. So I don't have a specific answer for you at this time. So again, someone had asked when you will receive your results. You will receive your results approximately 6 to 8 weeks after the exam. So 6 to 8 weeks starting from June 22nd, 6 to 8 weeks, you will receive your results by mail. So on the frequently asked questions page, it states printed materials can have handwritten notes and highlight on that. That is correct. You cannot bring a notebook and I know this is conflicting, but this is the security that we're working with on Pearson. You cannot bring like a spiral bound notebook like that you would have in a classroom setting. You cannot bring that in. Again, I know this is conflicting, but if you wish to take, type out those notes, print it on a piece of paper, throw it in your 3-ring binder, that is acceptable. But that's what Pearson has directed us to. So I know that is a little bit conflicting, but that's what we're working with. So again, I don't have a pass percentage of those that pass. It just depends on how the candidates perform and the difficulty of the exam. So someone asked, are all the questions on the exam counted towards your passing score, or are there a couple of questions that are being asked to gauge knowledge for future exams? So all of the items, all of the questions that are on the CPD exam are valid only towards the current CPD exam that you are taking. It is not working for future exams or anything like that. So it is testing your knowledge in plumbing design. I hope that answers your question. Okay, well, please feel free to reach out to me at any time if you have any questions. I will do my best to communicate as efficiently as I can once I do receive updated information. So as soon as I get information, I try to get it onto the candidates as soon as possible. These slides will be shared with you once the video does get posted. And please go ahead, register, fill out the interest form if you are interested, pass this on. And I'm sorry that this is happening, but we were able to get out in front of it and postpone the exam before the cancellation. So thank you for being patient. Thank you for working with us, and we will get this exam delivered somehow. So thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.